Every breath we take is a testament to oxygen, the invisible force sustaining nearly all life on Earth. It fills our lungs, fuels our cells, and forms the very fabric of our atmosphere. We rarely acknowledge its omnipresence, its constant work in supporting ecosystems, driving weather patterns, and even shaping our planet's geology. But what if, for just a fleeting 5 seconds, this essential element simply vanished? Not just the air in our lungs, but the entire atmospheric supply of O2 and O3. The implications would be immediate, profound, and utterly devastating. Let's clarify our hypothetical. We're talking about the complete disappearance of atmospheric molecular oxygen, O2, and ozone, O3, for a precise 5 seconds, before instantly reappearing. This isn't about elemental oxygen within compounds like water or rock, which would trigger an even greater, UN-survivable catastrophe. Our focus is the air we breathe and the protective shield above us. The moment oxygen dissipates, a massive vacuum would form. Air pressure would plummet, and a sudden, violent expansion of remaining gases would occur, creating an unprecedented shockwave across the globe. Perhaps the most immediate and terrifying effect would be on anything airborne. Without oxygen, the combustion engines powering airplanes, helicopters, and drones would instantly fail. Thousands of aircraft, carrying millions of people, would lose thrust simultaneously. They wouldn't just glide, they would plummet from the sky. Without air resistance as we know it, the fall would be even more erratic, like stones dropped into a void. 5 seconds is too short for any pilot to react or restore power, sealing the fate of those in the air in a chilling silence. Combustion is a fundamental process that requires oxygen. From the smallest candle flame to the largest industrial furnace, all fires would be extinguished instantaneously. Cars, trucks, and motorcycles would sputter and die. Power plants relying on fossil fuels would cease operation, leading to widespread blackouts. Even campfires and kitchen stoves would go out. For those 5 seconds, the world would experience a sudden, chilling absence of heat and light from human-made fire, a stark reminder of oxygen's role in our energy-driven civilization. Beyond our immediate breath, oxygen plays another critical role, forming the ozone layer. This protective shield, located high in the stratosphere, absorbs most of the sun's harmful ultraviolet, UV, radiation. Without atmospheric oxygen, the ozone layer would disappear with it. For 5 seconds, Earth's surface would be exposed to an intense, unfiltered blast of UVC and UVB radiation. While the duration is too short to cause severe sunburn, the sudden exposure could damage retinal cells and cause immediate, intense pain to exposed skin, especially for those outdoors. For humans, 5 seconds without oxygen might not immediately induce the sensation of suffocation. Our bodies respond to carbon dioxide buildup, not solely oxygen deprivation. However, oxygen's disappearance would trigger a rapid cascade of effects. Our blood, suddenly devoid of its oxygen carrier, would lose its vibrant red hue. The loss of atmospheric pressure would be felt instantly. People outdoors might experience a sudden pop in their ears and an uncomfortable pressure on their eardrums, akin to rapid ascent in an airplane, but far more severe and instantaneous. Here's where our hypothetical becomes truly devastating. Oxygen atoms are not just in the air, they are fundamental components of many compounds that form solid structures. Concrete, for example, relies heavily on oxygen atoms within its silicate and aluminate compounds. While the atmospheric O2 loss is our primary focus, if the hypothetical implies a loss of all oxygen atoms globally, an even more extreme interpretation, then concrete structures would literally disintegrate into dust. Even with only atmospheric O2 gone, the sudden, extreme drop in atmospheric pressure alone could cause older or poorly constructed buildings to buckle and collapse. The change in external and internal pressure would be too much for many structures to bear. The impacts extend far beyond land. The vast oceans, home to immense biodiversity, rely on dissolved oxygen. Fish, marine mammals, and countless invertebrates extract this oxygen from the water to survive. If the atmospheric O2 vanishes, the dissolved O2 in surface waters would rapidly follow suit. While 5 seconds is too brief for widespread suffocation, the immediate loss of dissolved oxygen would send a shockwave through aquatic ecosystems. Many marine species are incredibly sensitive to oxygen levels, and this sudden, absolute deprivation would cause acute stress and widespread localized deaths, particularly for shallow water organisms. Sound needs a medium to travel, and air is that medium. While the loss of oxygen doesn't mean a complete vacuum, the dramatic pressure drop would severely impact sound propagation. For those 5 seconds, the world would experience an eerie, almost complete silence. The roar of traffic, the hum of machinery, the chatter of voices, all would be muffled or cease entirely. It would be a profound, unsettling auditory void, punctuated only by the creaking and groaning of collapsing structures and the panicked cries of those in immediate peril, if any sound could even travel to them. Even plants, which produce oxygen, require it for their own respiration. While they generate oxygen through photosynthesis, they consume it during cellular respiration, especially at night. A 5-second loss of atmospheric oxygen wouldn't directly kill most plants, as their internal oxygen stores and slower metabolic rates offer some buffer. However, the sudden UV exposure would be damaging, and the massive atmospheric pressure changes could rupture delicate cells, especially in tender leaves. Trees might sway violently as the air density changes, potentially snapping branches or even uprooting smaller flora. Modern industry is intrinsically linked to oxygen. Welding, smelting, and many chemical manufacturing processes rely on oxygen or an oxygen-rich environment. For 5 seconds, every single one of these operations would grind to an immediate, catastrophic halt. Molten metals would solidify, chemical reactions would cease, and open flames from burners would wink out. While 5 seconds is brief, the sudden interruption could damage machinery, compromise safety protocols, and result in massive financial losses. Supply chains dependent on continuous industrial output would suffer instant, severe disruption. Then, as suddenly as it vanished, oxygen would rush back. The returning atmospheric pressure would create another, equally violent shockwave, slamming into buildings, trees, and people. Airplanes still plummeting would experience a sudden, brutal increase in air resistance, likely tearing apart mid-air. For those on the ground, the sound would return as a thunderous roar, a cacophony of explosions, collapsing structures, and the cries of the injured. The reignition of engines and the sudden rush of air would be as chaotic as the initial disappearance. The immediate aftermath would be a scene of unimaginable devastation. Cities would be littered with the wreckage of collapsed buildings and fallen aircraft. Roads would be impassable due to debris and structural failures. Millions would be dead or severely injured from falls, impacts, and exposure. Fires would likely erupt from ruptured fuel lines and electrical shorts as power returned, compounding the disaster. The scale of simultaneous, global destruction would be unprecedented, turning entire regions into emergency zones and rendering vast areas uninhabitable. For those who survived the initial 5 seconds and the return of oxygen, the world would be irrevocably changed. Millions would be without power, communication, or clean water. Rescue efforts would be hampered by destroyed infrastructure and the sheer scale of the emergency. Medical facilities would be overwhelmed. The psychological trauma of such a sudden, global event would be immense. Survivors would face a prolonged struggle for resources, safety, and a semblance of order amidst the chaos, testing the limits of human resilience. Beyond immediate human impact, the ecological consequences would be severe. Aquatic ecosystems would experience mass die-offs from the sudden oxygen depletion. While land plants might survive, many delicate organisms would perish, disrupting food chains. The sudden surge of unfiltered UV radiation, even for a few seconds, could have long-term mutagenic effects on DNA, potentially leading to widespread health issues for surviving fauna and flora. The sheer scale of destruction would create new ecological niches and challenges for surviving species. The Earth itself would bear the scars of this 5-second anomaly. While the geological structure wouldn't fundamentally change, the human landscape would be unrecognizable. The disruption of atmospheric patterns, although temporary, could trigger secondary weather events. The dust and debris from countless collapses would linger in the atmosphere, potentially affecting global temperatures and precipitation for months or even years. This hypothetical event would leave an indelible mark, serving as a permanent reminder of our planet's fragility and our dependence on its delicate balance. Despite the unfathomable destruction, the human spirit would endure. The initial chaos would eventually give way to organized efforts of rescue, rebuilding, and remembrance. This shared global trauma, while devastating, could also foster an unprecedented level of international cooperation and unity. Humanity would be forced to re-evaluate its relationship with the planet, to cherish the air we breathe, and to understand the profound interconnectedness of all life. It would be a brutal, yet perhaps ultimately unifying, lesson in humility and survival. This terrifying thought experiment underscores the profound fragility of our existence. Oxygen, seemingly abundant and ever-present, is a silent guardian whose removal, even for a moment, could dismantle civilization. It compels us to consider the unseen forces that govern our world and the delicate balance that allows life to flourish. Perhaps, in imagining such a catastrophic event, we gain a deeper appreciation for the air in our lungs, the sky above us, and the intricate web of life that makes our planet truly unique and precious.